Good evening, everyone. Let's head over into Collectively Rewilding. All right, here we are in Collectively Rewilding, and there's been some new activity, so we'll just click that button and get rid of that notification, just all about the events happening right now. So that's wonderful. And this is the beginning of the new year. So we will be closing off the garden planning Q&A and making that a paid for class. I haven't quite gotten in and done that yet, but that is going to be something that you'll see change. Most everything is pretty well finalized for the year, with the exception of the pieces of the garden planner that haven't been released yet, right? So when you go into the garden planner, for what you guys can see that aren't hosts or moderators, you will be able to see all of January and the first two pieces of February. There's going to be a third piece that you'll have here in the beginning, and that is like January, the weekly checklist. We'll have a February weekly checklist here. So that's the next piece that I need to be working on. And there's a few more months that I still have to do. I've gotten through till May, not counting the weekly checklist. So everything is really getting finished up, even for the pieces that aren't fully released yet. And we should be off and running very well as we go forward and jump into all of this wonderful material. Before we do that, I did want to talk to you just about a couple of quick pieces. That this is an excellent time of the year for one, and the other, just a technique that I came across in the last week or so that is going to change everything about how we do what we're doing here in our garden in Collectively Rewilding. And that is called espalier or espalier training. I'm not sure. I'm guessing that you pronounce that R. I haven't had the time to look into it enough yet, but it is something that in crowded cities, Romans saved space by training fruit tree branches to grow flat against walls or fences. This method triggers the tree to put more energy into fruit production rather than vertical growth, yielding 3 to 5 times more fruit per square foot. And where we're so limited on space here, that will change how we do things. We're going to definitely be trying it out on our north wall for privacy, because there's an apartment complex that was built, I don't know, maybe 10 years after these houses were built. These are about 20-year-old houses, and they were told that nobody was going to be building behind them, and then they built a 3-story apartment complex. So there are literally 2 floors of an apartment complex that just get to look right into our backyard and all the backyards that surround that apartment complex. And we're lucky this house didn't have solar, or the previous owners, I should say, are lucky there was no solar on this house, so no sunlight would even be blocked because it's on our north side. But the people that are vertical to us here, they had solar on their roof, and these apartment complexes completely block their light for their solar. So that's really sad, and I feel really bad for them. And all of us probably regret that we don't have a little bit more privacy in our backyards. So we're definitely going to take this thought and do this up against that back wall for privacy, and then against our westerly or more western facing side yard fence over here, because it will create some shade from that just brutal westerly sun that comes in the afternoons. And so that's just going to tremendously change what we're doing and how well we can bring on different fruits and nuts and things like that you can really only have with trees. Now, we're still in the zones we're in, so we won't be able to have citrus or bananas or anything of those tropical types of fruits, but we will be able to have all of the zone appropriate trees that we would like with the addition of this espalier training. I'm guessing that the R is pronounced because it's in Rome, which is Italian and Spanish, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe both of those languages pronounce the R, whereas in French, if it's the ending, it's not pronounced the same way. So I'm guessing that it would be espalier training, and we will definitely be talking about that as we get to start digging into the outside. Who knows when that's going to happen? If the weather continues like this, it may happen before the spring. We had not really intended to be able to move forward very much more than where we had gotten. In fact, it was kind of surprising that we were able to do some of the things that we were able to do with it being as late as it was in the season this last year. And so it's a very weird winter in the Southwest, very warm, windy, very weird. So we're dealing with it. You got to take the good with the bad, right? All right, so now here we are in January. We're starting off perfectly with our 4-week plan. There are 4 full weeks in January, and we have our overview here, which definitely something great to look into. Check it out. Look at how it's described. Sometimes different wordings will really trigger thought. But we're going to go ahead and jump into the weekly checklist and then week 1. And so today's week 1, getting ready for this whole week, what we can be doing, and kind of different than what we normally could be doing in this growing zone. However, this is something that any of us can be doing no matter what temperature it is outside, right? And so for January, week 1, we have journal setup and philosophy. We'll talk about acquiring the tool, getting that hybrid garden planner and journal, the section setup, that there are these specific areas. Oh, I may not have looked into this quite as well as I should have. Let me just take out this one. Oh, I get it. The logs threw me. We're talking about logs for our harvest, like a physical journal, not like a log, like a stump. Oh boy, that had me thrown for a second there. No, okay, we're good. We're good. So nature observation. And then you get into data entry, begin documenting specific inputs, plant varieties and planting dates, growth progress notes, visual integration, add non-text data, sketches, printed photos, or pressed flowers. And then, as always, a historical review that you have. You can read notes from previous years when available to identify seasonal cues, e.g. first bee arrival. So these are some different things that you can be looking at as you're going through the beginning of each year, and then follow through to have a much more solid and cohesive understanding of what's going on in your location, in your gardening efforts, right? And then make it a routine. Establish the habit of carrying the journal during every garden visit. And so I don't know that that's always realistic, but perhaps you could just always have it out there in the kitchen, if that's where you're going to be stepping out, or maybe right on your porch or a table on your patio or something like that, so that it's relatively easily grabbed. But I don't like to have things in my hands when I'm walking around. So it'd be more like I would go back up to it and write it in there, but having it where I can get to it relatively easily and notate anything that I want to, right? And then next week, we'll get into mapping and measurement. So let's dive into January week 1. Excuse me. Using a planner. The best tool is a journal. The best garden planner isn't always a digital one. A physical journey is one of the most powerful tools you can have. The Do-It-Yourself Journal. This article from Gingham Gardens on creating a do-it-yourself garden journal teaches us that a journal is a permanent record of your garden. It's a place to celebrate your success, learn from your mistakes, and track the progress of your rewilding journey. And then you have that source right here. You can pull that up and check that out. You have The Power of Handwriting. A podcast on garden organization emphasizes that the physical act of writing helps you retain information and fosters a deeper connection with your garden, right? And that's what's really great about the planner that we're still working on, this external planner that it was really talking about. And let's just jump over here. I don't think these are my scheduled posts for today. Yes, they are. Okay, so we're going to actually jump over here and X out of this and go into our weekly checklist. Acquiring the tool. The Collectively Rewilding, or CIR hybrid planner and journal that we're going to be working on internally in our garden planning space will influence what happens with that physical or online printable variation, right? And so this will be both an online and printable option until the full published version is released, and then that will add a third option. You would still be able to access it online, still be able to print it from online, or actually purchase that published piece so that it's got the nice printing and it comes all together, right? Those will be the three options. So people can get it for free online or print it themselves, or they can spend a little bit and get that physical product in their hands. And one of the things that we're going to build into the physical planner is that it's going to be a 3-ring or 6-ring binder, something at least 8 by 11 in size. And you know what, I actually have a really good example of what I want it to be about like. So you'll have this kind of rugged case that it will be in, and a little pouch here where you can maybe keep your phone for pictures, a couple of pens or pencils, and some sticky notes or whatever you think is appropriate. And then you open it up into your binder, and this will get changed out. Certain pieces of this will be able to be changed out each year. So you won't have to buy the full physical planner anymore. You'll just buy the inserts like you do with a day planner. For any of you who are familiar with something like daily schedule keeper, and of course we've talked about this a lot in Let's Go Help 2 back in the old days, but we don't really talk about it anymore. So it's good to use as an example. And so I don't ever have to buy this physical case anymore. I just go in each year and I buy the inserts for the new calendar year. And that's what ours will be like when it's fully published, because well, yes, we have to put food on the table and there has to be some monetary exchange. Collectively Rewilding is really about getting this into the hands of as many people as possible. So there will be that initial investment of the physical binder, and then your inserts will be significantly cheaper each year after that. And then you'll have these wonderful pieces for each year where you can buy just a simple, more informal type of a folder if you're wanting to, with the Collectively Rewilding journal logo on it. And then it's just kind of a simple binder that you can have for each year, and you can go back and look through those every year. And it will be so consistent, right? To have that, just like this planner that I have been using, and I can show you how dated it is by the pictures that I cut out and put into it. Any guesses on the very childlike artist that created that picture? Anyone? Is Miss Tammy here? I'm pretty sure she knows who that artist is. I don't think she's joined us today. So Lisa Frank. I have had this journal since my late teen years, and I don't have to ever buy that external piece again. I just buy the relatively cheap insert each year. It's about $10. Now this is much smaller than the variation that we'll have here, and more simplistic. So the inserts will probably be more like $20, $25, something like that, but it will still be so much more affordable than trying to buy a new entire piece each year, right? And so just to fully clarify how we're running this entire class this year, we will definitely, I need to get back in and really redo our garden planner, because I think this is it. Yes, okay, it was just looking weird at the moment. This has completely changed. As we've talked about it over the last 6 months or so, getting this really going, getting it started as the specific garden planning class that it has become, all of these pieces, it has significantly changed in structure. The location of different pieces have been drastically modified. We've moved it all around, right? We've talked about it and you guys have been there. We've moved pieces, we've taken pieces out, all kinds of things. So it will probably be easiest to just simply start over and create a brand new piece with these documents. Once you start formatting them and doing all of that and then trying to change it over, it gets a little difficult. So it'll probably be easier. We'll just create an entirely new document, and that's something I will try to have up for us as soon as I get all of the months completed. And what I might do is just take a moment and get everything in there up until where I have still got work to do, so that we have a base point that you guys can go and access this printable document. You can always convert it to a PDF if you have Adobe Reader. Now, that's not something that I generally do. However, it's there as an option, and that will take away these tabs and put it all into one document, just so that you're aware of what's going on with it, the different variations that you have access to. And then, of course, it will be completely different when we go and we have our physical planner that's already published. That will be something that is a little bit more, not only a little bit more gussied up or prettied, it will be something that you already have that built structure. I don't know how to completely say what I'd like to say. Depends on the quality of your printer. If I print it, it's not going to look like this picture here. It will very much have a lower quality for the images that I'm able to create. So those will be the choices that we make once it's fully published. But for right now, this is where we'll start. And I will try to get that up by next week's class, where we do have the document so that you guys can go in and have it online or print it. And so what you'll do, if you want to modify it, once you have access to the document, you simply go to File, you go to Make a Copy, then you would title it however you want. Perhaps you want to say Candes. I don't know how you'd add it. Candese's, that sounds a little awkward there. Candese's CR's Hybrid Garden Planner and Journal, and then you would just make a copy. You don't want to share it with the same people or copy the comments and suggestions or the resolved comments and suggestions. You just want to make a copy and jump right over it. And at that point, then you'll be able to modify it and make it however you want it to be. All right. And within the published variation, because it's a 3-ream binder, if you don't agree with how the structure is already arranged, that'll be another nice thing for you. You can reorganize it how you want it. And that's the same with printing it. You can put it into whatever order works best for your thought process, right? All right, so jumping back into our actual piece for this week. Beyond the spreadsheet, traditional planners, like the ones from the Spruce, are great for a human-centered approach, and we can use them to inspire our own unique rewilding journey. And so another article for you there. Creating your own journal. Maybe you want to just have something really basic. We've shared an article from Gardenary where Nicole Burke talks about creating one in a simple composition book. I don't have any here as an example, but just your basic little composition books, the black ones with the fuzzy, weird little almost army looking covers. Now they have them in pink and all kinds of different colors, but it'll have like subject and name right there on the top. That's a composition book. And she was showing how you could just take something as simple as that little composition book and turn it into a journal that you design, right? And so there are lots of ways to go about planning a journal, planning a garden, all of these different things, right? Creating your own journal, grab your hybrid garden planner and journal, utilize the separate sections for different topics, like the page for your garden layout, a place to track your harvest, and a spot for your nature observations. Start documenting. Write down what you plant, when you plant it, and how it grows. Draw sketches, add photos, or even tape in a pressed flower. Keep it with you when you're in the garden so you can jot things down as they happen. Learning from a journal. Use your notes from previous years to remember what worked well and what didn't. Pay attention to the little details you recorded, like when the first bee arrived or when a particular plant started to get a lot of sun. I think instead of a certain plant, I would put a certain location. Let's just edit that. When a particular location. Okay. We'll have to jump back down there. Pay attention to the little details you recorded, like when the first bee arrived or when a particular location started to get a lot of sun. Instead of seeing something that didn't work as a mistake, look at it as a learning opportunity. Your journal is a record of your discoveries, not just your plans. And that's where I tend to fall off. So that's something that I know would help me. I always think, I'm going to remember this or I'm going to remember that. And there are definitely things that I do, but not the way that I would be able to if I actually recorded those thoughts into a physical item, right? All right. So what are you guys thinking about? Would you want to start a journal? Is that something that you think will be helpful to you? There are a lot of people who don't do the journals at all. And then that's where these classes can come in. We can talk about it. And instead of doing the journal, which is so much the focus right now, when it's going into the other weeks and we're talking about planting and things, they don't necessarily need to worry about the planner aspect, right? So what kind of personality would you say you guys are?
I think the journal would be great, especially if you like put it on platforms. It could be a whole stream for the collectively rewilders.
It's going to be out there. We're definitely going to start putting that out there. I have some pieces still. I have to learn MailChimp. That's the one that's really holding me back right now, is learning how to send out these emails so that as people are coming in, I can help them follow through and try to get the audience numbers. We have a really great participation rate. We fluctuate more towards 20%, but between 15 and 20%. And that's wonderful for a community to have that high of a participation rate. And yet I would love to get a lot more of those people who are in here and don't participate back in, really engaged with us now, because those people have been coming in over the years. And this is when we've really finally gotten to that fully completed, finalized stage that we have all of this regular interaction with these classes. There is a ton of material coming in throughout the week to go over, to play within your own space, to think about, right? And so I want to give those folks that have been here for a while the opportunity to hear what we're doing and maybe come back in and join us a little more, as well as being able to talk to those people that are brand new and coming in email about how they can get themselves set up and all of these different things, right? It's something that you guys have experienced over in LH2. I want to try to bring some of that over to where we are here in Collectively Rewilding, the more approachable emails. If you guys have noticed the email change when Julia took it over, that's the style, but for our community, that I want to put out there for you guys through MailChimp. And I've gotten it started. I've got the account. I have all of our emails imported. I think that I have the names correctly. That's something you definitely want to make sure of. I know you guys have seen it where you've gotten an automated email from something you signed up for, and maybe it says your name instead of your actual name, right? Whether it's Kendez, Vanessa, Mario, Samantha, whoever it may be, instead it says your name. Those are the kinds of things that can get really bungled and look not very professional if you don't know what you're doing. So it's going to take me a minute. I'd really have to already have that now that the beginning of the year is here. The reality of it is these systems take time to learn. And so we'll keep pushing forward. Hopefully I will have those out soon, and then at that point, that's when I'm going to start really making the push, the advertising. I lost my train of thought there for a second. I had to regather where we started. And so at that point, that's when I'm going to do a big push and try to find some funding for marketing, as well as putting some in myself again. I've put some in years ago, but it really wasn't the product that it needed it to be. I was just trying to get something going. And so I said, okay, I've never even tried. Let's try to get some people in here beyond the people that are already here. It worked somewhat. I really kind of did it on the fly. I wasn't expecting a ton of return from it. I was really more learning how to utilize the system on Facebook, and that's where I got it out. That's where I have the largest membership or friendship totals, right? Between the different sites, all of them have their different names. And so friendships on Facebook, I have thousands. And so that's where I put that messaging out. And I did see some return from it. And that was just kind of haphazardly thrown together just to get something out there and find out how to use the system. So I'll do something like that again that's much more structured and planned. I already have some things going on in that regard, different tests that I'm going to do, et cetera, all these fun things. But I don't want to start that until I can contact the people through email that do sign up and join our community, right? So yeah, getting it out there will happen at some point in the very near future. Wish me luck, right? And so what about you, Miss Vanessa? Is your background noise maybe a little bit better, where you could tell us if you like the journaling idea or if you like really more free, loose planning?
I think the journal's good if you keep it up. I might, me, it might be a little difficult for me because I'm not used to it, but I guess with practice and everything, it'd work out good. So you can go back and look where the sun's coming up or what different, I don't know, like you said, the bees or birds or whatever, bugs around there, you could jot down, you know. I think it'd be pretty good.
Right? And maybe I have a hard time sticking with like a diary, journal, anything like that myself. And so I really think that having these classes is going to help me to stay on top of filling something like that out and following through with it, if not filling it out.
Yeah.
That's really the goal, right? Those who are good at filling out these things, and there will be some pieces that I definitely managed to get filled out, but helping within here, helping everybody to get theirs filled out and trying to get going with all of this, I don't know that I'll have time to follow through as well as I would like to on the journaling aspect of it. But having it there as a weekly, and even if I want to, daily reminder of the things that can be done that week is what will really help me.
Yeah, too, with the class
Mhm.
to keep up.
Exactly. And perhaps within that, we'll end up finding the journaling that comes along with that, right? Because we are coming back in and looking at it and utilizing these thoughts. And I've done a lot of what we talk about as the journal. So I've mapped out my location. I've paid attention to the sun patterns, and I've already built soil structures in to take advantage of the water patterns, right? All of these different things, but I don't have it in that nice document. And that really will show you things throughout your year or your years, excuse me. Like the fact that we're probably going to have a pretty dry year if we don't see something going forward. So, what am I going to do at each different point to try to help the plants to endure these rough conditions, and then recording what worked and what didn't, right? So, here's to wishing us both success at following through a little bit more one way or the other, right, Miss Vanessa?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And how about you, Candace? Are you doing your sprouts right now or not doing those so much anymore?
Yeah, I'm starting a new batch today or tonight.
Nice.
And
I'm
so,
going to try ice cubes like Tammy had recommended because I did my little trays and I didn't like how it worked out at all. You really do need like a closer surface if you're going to have that soil and that mat. You said you have one of those mats like Tammy had shared as an article to grow the microgreens with, right? Is that something I saw a post that you created?
oh yes, I haven't purchased the thing yet. It's like a fruit organizer, and he basically entered it into a situation where if you drill some holes, you could pretty much grow microgreens from that, which I was
Interesting.
interested in.
Tammy also shared an article about it. Let's try to find it. Yep. All right. So I'm pretty sure she shared it in member meetups. No, but I might have moved it. So let's think. This is one of the things that I'm going to follow that she had posted. And there was another one. Darn it. Let's go into garden planning Q&A. That looks like where I probably would have moved it to. And then I believe I featured it, but let's just try searching it here. You know what? I bet I saved it in my bookmarks let's try to find it like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't, but I did save the link for it. So perhaps that would be the way to look for it. Anyway, it's this mat and it's $60, but you can keep reusing it. And then that's when you don't have to have the soil, which has been the part that's been the hardest for me to manage, both trying to create the mix in the cold when my garden shed, and my garage, they're not heated, right? I have to heat them if I want to warm them up. Obviously, I don't want to do this in the house. And so even creating the soil mix is difficult for me in the winter. And so this mat would be really valuable. Let me go see if I can find the post now.
What's the mat called?
There we go. Okay. A silicone reusable microgreen grow medium, complete grow medium overview. And then there's this, I believe, article for it, and I checked it out. That's what I have pulled up here. And like I said, I believe it's $60. Okay. And so they're talking about a brick, it's $10, single use per portion, 10 sheets, 6 cups each, $6 per tray, $1.43. I don't know, math is not my strong point, but obviously if your initial investment is 60 and you can keep reusing it, no matter how many times you do it in a year, even if it's only one in 6 years, it's paid for. And it seems to me so much easier trying to get the microgreens out because the soil wants to come with them. And they're so small, it's hard to wash the soil particles away without washing the microgreens away. So this is something that I definitely want to consider. But in the interim, let me tag you in this, Kendra.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tag me too?
Absolutely. All right. And so the other one, and let me just search it the way I had searched it before. I think it was microgreens mat. No, but it was showing the one I just. There we go. I'm going to try this. I already got the ice cube trays for it, and I looked again at the article, and it looked so much more manageable to utilize with soil. I feel like I can clip them and just take them, whereas with the soil, it was hard. They wanted to just come out of the soil when I tried to clip them. Even when I got the better scissors, it didn't work for me. I'm sure there are people that it works for. It didn't work for me. So I'm going to try this ice cube tray idea. And then if I want to keep continuing to do this, I will probably eventually invest in that mat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want me to tag you in this one as well?
Yeah,
Pretty
that's fine.
clear, right? Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
growing it in an ice cube tray is a pretty clear picture. But all right, and so then what you can do right now, we have February already open because in the first week of February, you can jump in and I have templates for putting out the natural and the more regulated shapes. So here's some random ones for rewilding areas. Then you get into in-ground templates, containers, traditional templates, traditional meaning that like this would be your 4-foot square gardening. Here's one that's got a little fancier beveling if you want to indicate that you're going to make it a little bit nicer, still about a 4x4. If you want to do curved beds, then if you want to do basic raised beds or in-ground, use that for either with the different size templates. And then you have your blank grids up here. I would actually recommend getting your grid paper. They'll be a little bit bigger and more to size. When you print these up, that's going to make your squares really big. So they're here. You can definitely get them and you can access them in the document itself. You have all of them right here where they can almost be used together, your pages. And so that's something that you guys can play with already. And then in the published variation, it'll just be more formalized, and they'll either be static cling or magnetic, and you can move them around, but that's the point. You don't have to draw it and draw it and draw it. You can kind of move it around on your space to see what you want to do before you get to more formally laying out your garden plan, right? And so, any questions or thoughts? Kendez is probably about ready to go to sleep or just waking up, I'm guessing, after work.
Now I'm about to get ready for a nap.
Uh-huh. So I was kind of feeling one way or the other. And you, Miss Vanessa?
The microgreens, how long do they take to grow? Is it like every
Depends on the seed, but generally like 7 to 21 days at the most.
And then you cut them and they start all again?
You have to reseed it and start over. Yes.
Seed it so they don't generate again.
Yeah, it's not going to like grow again from the same seed. You have to reseed it.
All right.
And then for the sprouts, Kendez is doing it. He likes his frame. I didn't like my sprout starter kit, so I'm going to start doing mine just in a jar in the window or on my growing shelf over here. And then when it's done, after you've rinsed it and they are fully grown, you rinse it twice a day, and then you just plop it out. And that to me is so much easier, right? So the microgreens, you have to grow a little bit larger, and that's why it needs that medium to grow them in. But for your sprouts, I'm going to just do the jar method, and you just put your seeds in there and you rinse them twice a day. When they're fully sprouted, just go ahead and drain that water out and put them on whatever you want. Your salad, put them in your soup, eat them raw, right? Put them on a sandwich, whatever. So I think that's going to be a lot easier method. And once I'm able to dive back into that, I'll let you guys know how it goes. Yes, please.
What do you mean when you say you rinse them out?
So if you have it in a jar, you would simply put water in it and kind of let it hit all of them. And then you would just dump them out, like dump the water out, but make sure you keep your seeds inside your jar and then do it again another time that day. You just get them wet and then drain the water out and then let them be in a warm enough space. If you want there to be color to the sprouts, then you want it to get light. They technically don't even have to have light.
Oh, so you literally flip them over to get the water out and then, interesting.
Yep. And then when you're done and they've fully sprouted, you just pour them over and let them come out that time. And they'll probably be wet enough. You want to damp them off with a paper towel or a cloth or something like that and utilize them however you're ready to go eat them.
I'm looking forward to seeing how yours come out in that jar.
Absolutely. I will definitely let you guys know, but it's so simple. You're really recreating the same kind of thing that we all did when we were like 5, 6, and 7 with the seeds and the paper towels, right? It's basically the same idea. All you did was kept it damp, didn't have to have light, and it sprouted. That's what we're doing when we're using the kits like Kendez's or like I was using or these jars. You're just getting that seed to sprout. And you did it when you were 5. All right, guys. Any more thoughts or questions? Anybody gonna try, if I get the journal completed for print, is anybody going to print out, say, the month of January to start trying to work through that as a journal format?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I hear silence from Miss Vanessa. We won't pressure you, Vanessa, we promise.
Well, I'm not sure where I'm going to be living, so I don't want to be planning stuff.
Yeah. When are you guys going to make your decision? Do you know, or is it just kind of?
Well, the job's supposed to end in February. We're looking for a house here because he wants to move here, but it might be pushed all the way to April. So his job, but it just depends. If we find a house here, then we'll be staying here. If not, we're going to move back to Texas. So I don't really want to start planning anything. Even in I have some in pots, but I don't want to be putting more because I'm not going to be able to be taking them all with me and stuff if we move back.
Or even if moving across town, it's really hard to transport a lot of plants. You know?
Yeah. And my husband be like, "You ain't taking that. Get rid of it." I'm not that I wouldn't, get rid of them, but I'd rather have them for me if I'm going to plant something and
Absolutely.
the hassle of trying.
So that's where the microgreens and sprouts are really something that you can still play with.
Why didn't you like your kit, starter kit?
I had trouble getting them out of the little lines where the seeds rested. They wanted to stay, and it was really hard to get them out. I felt like I bruised them. I had to leave a lot of them behind. It didn't work well for me. Do you have that experience, Kendez? Do you find that there's little little sprouts that you can't quite get because they're stuck in the lines of your growing kit?
No, I never had that problem before. But I mean, other than when I had tried to grow it the first time around where it just wouldn't grow, sometimes that's the problem. It's just like, whoa, what's going on?
And so I think both of us previously had read wetting them once a day, right? Rinsing them once a day. Do you think you
Mhm.
might try twice a day going forward to see if that produces better results?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do you keep yours by the kitchen, or where do you keep yours that it's like in your line of sight?
Right by the window of the office.
Mm-hmm. And you're in there quite a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Well, definitely look forward to hearing. And, they were quite different, the two kits, Vanessa, and perhaps it's just easier to work with the one that Kendez has. All right, everybody. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I just said good to know.
Yeah. I do think, though, that the jar, I mean, who doesn't have a jar around? You can wash the spaghetti jar if you really don't have a mason jar or something like that in one of your cupboards. And then you just put, like, if your jar is about, say, a mason jar size, right? You only want to put, like, maybe that many seeds because it's got to have room to do its thing. And you want to be able to readily drain the water out when you're rinsing it twice a day, right? And then you just go for it. It's not something that could be almost any easier. The only other thing that would be easier if somebody's like feeding you by hand these microgreens, right? Or these sprouts, excuse me. They're very, very simple. So definitely I encourage you to check it out and not worry about getting a kit. Try it just in the jar. If you can't worry about plans and planting right now, then you can get that living nutrition and add it to the relevant types of meals that you have going forward. And so, guys, our schedule has changed quite a bit. I needed to cut back. I'm going to be teaching each week between the two communities 8 classes. And so I had to make sure that it wasn't more than 8 classes. So as you'll notice, for our Let's Quit Together, that has moved to our, third and fourth week, or first and third weeks is what that one will be. This is like the second week. And so How To's for Community Outreach will be our next class this Wednesday, January 7th at 1:45 p.m. Pacific, 2:45 p.m. Mountain, 3:45 p.m. Central, and 4:45 p.m. Eastern. We didn't get rid of any classes. We just moved some of them into biweekly schedules. So they're all still here, and that way we could accommodate both communities and make it work. And so you'll see that that's also happened in LH2 for some of the classes there, that they've gone to biweekly. And so hope to see you guys in our class on Wednesday and in all those wonderful classes in LH2 in between, one of which I will be teaching in about 45 minutes. So hope to see you guys there, and glad to see you, Benny. We're kind of just finishing up, but we were talking about starting the journal, and one of the things that we talked about is how Vanessa and I kind of have a little bit of a hard time following through on the paperwork part, but definitely the weekly checklists and things are going to help us already. And then we may work to do a little bit more consistent job of the planner once Vanessa's in a better location for her, or her solid location where she knows she's going to be for a while. How about you, Benny? Have you always been able to follow through on things like journaling, or is that something that you struggle a bit with, like Vanessa and myself? and he may not be able to talk. He's not always able to talk, guys. Let's check out what he's got going on in the chat. Oh, he's already answered it. He would love to do the journal. All right, so Candace, Benny, you guys have to like encourage Vanessa and I, and probably Tammy, and who knows who else, which party each of us all fall into, right? We were gone. I didn't have classes myself for 2 full weeks, and Miss Tammy, she took over a couple of them, but hopefully we'll see some of our regulars pop back in and find out what they think, whether they're better at journaling or simply following things like the checklist and the guides for each week. All right, guys, please feel free to unmute and say goodnight.
Good night.
Bye, guys. Thank you all.
Good night. Bye.
Good night, everyone.